Nightcap, hosted by Casey Kerr. You're live, Casey.
Hey there. Thanks for joining us live here on Nightcap. I'm Casey Kerr from findyourroar.com, and we're going to have some fun tonight. I have a couple of awesome women that I am really looking forward to introducing to you. This is an opportunity for them to tell you a little bit about their stories and what they're working through. And I have a feeling that it's going to sound a little familiar to many of you. It certainly rings familiar to me. So we're going to get into that. And really what this is about tonight is helping you to understand how to clear your mind of the mind chatter, the negative chatter specifically. What would it do for you in your life if you no longer felt like you were constantly hearing the harsh judgments and criticisms that come in your own voice from you to you about everything that you're doing or not doing? What would it be like for you if you weren't always hoping for things and worrying about things? What would it be like if instead you expected that everything was going to be okay, and that taking actions that you had to take were a way for you to build your confidence and feel better about yourself and have fun with it along the way? What if those were thoughts that you just naturally had, and you didn't have to always work up all the courage and the confidence to do the things that you need to do? Wouldn't that make life so much easier for you? I don't know about you. I don't know if you've had a chance to watch our show last week from 1220 with the Queen of Manifestation, Jen Mazer. But I had an aha moment talking with her that I haven't been able to get out of my mind since. And I shared it with the ladies in my one of my programs last week, the Take Control program. And it had a particularly profound effect on these two gals that I've invited here tonight. And that was actually the inspiration for me to bring them here so that they could tell you a little bit about what I shared with them and how it has helped them to kind of look at their own circumstances a little bit differently. And so I want to give them an opportunity to do that. So since we only have a half an hour, I'm going to stop talking and get on with the show. So I had a moment last week with Jen in that where she said to me, I asked her what it was like dealing with her own fears and her own frustrations and, getting out of her own way. And was she always so optimistic? And she said something to the effect of, I wish I could tell you that I had this big transformational moment, but I've always been like this. I've always seen the best of things. I've always seen the bright side. And right there, it was like my heart just opened up and I felt like I was free for the first time. And I'm not exaggerating with that, because I have long believed that there are a whole bunch of us out there who are working our asses off, who are doing everything we possibly can, everything we can get our hands on to find a more positive way to look at things and to take more action and to be more bold and to do more of the things we want and to be the person we want to be. We're spending so much effort toward that, but yet we're still really held back. The fear is still bigger than our desires. The judgments that come out of us are so much bigger than the attaboys and the congratulations. And so because of that, we make less progress. And it's not because we're lazier or we're not committed or we're not passionate or we're not working hard enough. It's literally the programming that we're dealing with. And some people have more of that that's natural and is far more negative than other people do. And I've long thought that. And now I'm starting to get confirmation from people who, like Jen Mazer, who is amazing at what she does and who's experiencing phenomenal success because she's helping, thousands and thousands of people to improve their lives. And she's doing a great job. And I'll tell you, I couldn't help but look at her throughout my experience of knowing her and wondering, why can't I do more of that? Why can't I do this on a bigger scale? I have that same kind of radiant light and the desire to be the best version of myself, and I work hard at it every single day. Why am I not as far along as she is? And not in a jealous way, right? I'm super happy for her success to the bottom of my heart because she's helped me a great deal, and I know what awesome work she does. And she's not alone. There are lots of other people who are experiencing her level of success or working toward that level of success, and some who have surpassed it. And what I'm realizing is a lot of those people are more naturally optimistic, solution focused. They are running programs, or there are programs running them that give them an advantage over us. And that if we're being coached by them, and I have by many of these amazing people, and I've learned so much, but there's a piece that they're missing that has caused people like me and people like these girls that I'm going to introduce you to tonight, and maybe people like you, it's prevented us from having as much success in following through on those programs and taking. Oh, hello, Wolfie. That's my dog. Live TV. Please be quiet, buddy. He wants to be on Nightcap too. But there are lots of us who have been prevented from following all of their advice and all of the steps in the program. And it's been so frustrating for us because we haven't understood what's been holding us back. And so that's what my job is. That's what my role is here, is to help, people like me and like some of you who have committed to being the best version of yourself and who are still struggling because there's something missing. So now I really am going to stop talking and introduce these guys. So I've invited two of my students who are in a program of mine to share with you a little bit about their background, their experience, their struggles, what they have struggled with, both inside of their business and in other areas of their life. I wanted them to really put it out there about, what kinds of frustrations they've had and what's been holding them back. And that after I shared the story that I just shared with you about Jen and the difference between some of our programming, and we went deeper into this on our group call last week than we're going to be able to do tonight. But I wanted them to share with you kind of how that freed them up a little, how that helped them to shift their perspective and see things and see themselves a little bit differently. So now that I'm doing this, I realized I haven't thought through who's going to go first and how we're going to do this. So I'm just going to wing it. Okay. Wing it, woman. # wing it, woman. So the two women that I've invited here to talk to you tonight are Kara Howery and Anna Lindsay. And I'm going to let them tell you just a little bit about what they do, what their businesses are, and then kind of tell you each of their stories. So Kara, why don't you go first, since you're the first one I can see on my screen?
Okay. So I've known Casey for a little over a year and was introduced to her through my business with melaleuca.com. And she was just on as a speaker, invited to one of our groups there. And as she described being high potential but not high performing, and knowing that you have it on the inside of you to be great, to do great things, to be powerful, and yet you're sitting on your couch, or you're taking out the trash, or you're doing anything you can possibly do except what you're supposed to be doing, what you know you need to do to promote your business or take care of your customers or whatever, it doesn't matter. You're avoiding. and you're doing anything else you possibly can. It was just, I swear, it was like she's been reading my diary. And so we definitely connected on that. And it's been, I think, a lot harder process than I thought it was going to be to overcome. But that was part of what the big revelation was last week. And that is that we're starting at a deficit. When people like us are programmed this way, we know that we have it in us, and yet we can't quite get there. And we're starting, instead of starting at the starting line to succeed or whatever, we're starting like a lap behind. And that was just, it was a really big deal. And you cut yourself a little bit of grace. You give yourself a little bit of grace when you figure that out. So it's really powerful.
What we talked about was, imagine yourself being, and you've probably been in this situation before, where you're, taking a lesson, say, with someone else to learn how to play, I don't know, golf or tennis. And the person that you're taking the lesson with is stronger than you. They're faster than you. Maybe they're more agile, they're in better shape, or they're younger, they're a little less fearful, they're more confident. And you're taking the same lesson and you're just not doing as well as they are. And it's not because you're not trying or you're not working hard enough or any of those things. It really just is that you're starting a few steps behind where they are. And for us to be able to understand that for those of us who have these programs running that are really all problem focused versus solution focused, and we don't intend it to be that way, but it has us starting from a deficit. And to Kara's point, when you cut yourself a little bit of slack for that, and you realize that, you can give yourself compassion, and that makes it easier for you to move on. Kara, since we talked about this, I know obviously we've had Christmas in between and but tell me a little bit about how you have felt since you've started to put it in perspective like that, and you've been giving yourself a little bit more grace and compassion over it.
Well, I would say even just from the very beginning, that's been a difference, because from the very beginning, it's like, oh my gosh, somebody out there understands how I feel. And it's not, I'm not a loser, I'm not a slacker. And I knew I was a hard worker. But then it's like we just keep taking it a level deeper and a level deeper and a level deeper. And it frees you up. And I've been really working on living in the moment. And, and I think that helps to free that up too, because you can, you give yourself grace to live in the moment. You don't always have to be fighting and struggling on those projects or those things, or even thinking about your homework. It's like, you know what, right now I'm going to give myself time to enjoy walking the dog or being with my kids, and Christmas break. I've been taking extra time to make sure that we play games or whatever, and working on being okay with that, and just. It's like, okay, but then the anxiety comes up or whatever. And it's like, all right, it's okay. This anxiety is part of the process. I'm working from this deficit. It's okay. I'm getting there. I'm working. We're making progress. And always, always, always counting and giving yourself credit for doing anything. Anything that makes you feel better or works you towards the goal. But I'm learning that it's not the goal that's like the really important thing. It's how you feel in the moment. And then as you feel better every moment, it makes it easier to be the person that you're designed to be to get there down the road. So, yeah.
That is a great way to put it. I love that. I love that this is being recorded and we can write that down. That's awesome. Anna, tell us a little bit about your background and what this experience has been like for you.
Can you hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I work as a physical therapist part-time, and I also have a business that's powered by the Amway Corporation, and I've been going to a lot of networking groups in order to get out a little bit more and be more present with my business and trying to really get out there. But what I've noticed for myself is that I see all these people, but I don't put myself out there as much because people over time have always told me, oh, your personality is really strong. Oh, you need to chill out a little bit, or you need to do whatever. And so I don't put myself out as much because I feel like I might be too overpowering.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I think holds me back a lot. And what I've learned through this program is that all those things that my siblings said to me all those years when I was growing up, to just, will you just be quiet? Will you just shut up? Whatever, because I talk a lot, is not necessarily what's going on now with the people that I'm interacting with now. And I think that that's really huge for me.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is, because of being, I think being the 9th of 12 kids, and your older siblings are like, you're so stupid. Why do you do that? And, you know, you keep thinking, oh, you know, why can't I do this right? Why can't I do it like them? And then I finally realized that I was younger than they were. I was not supposed to be at their same level all the time.
Yeah.
And now I see that even as an adult, I am a perfectionist, trying to always be better than what I'm supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
But what I think is the biggest thing that I learned from our conversation last week was the expectations, and the expectations of me and what I should be doing, as well as my expectations of my husband, my sons, the people that I interact with at work, as a physical therapist, in my business, and just to come to the conclusion that even though people aren't doing what I think they should be doing, they're doing their best, and what they're doing is just fine for them, and what I'm doing is just fine for me.
Yeah.
And that I need to let go of the expectations of overdoing everything because everything is supposed to be more perfect or better.
Mm-hmm.
And that has been huge, and it's been great, because just understanding that made me able to explain it to my husband Matt and to my son Nico, and actually apologize. And I've been able to see the things that they do, and it's like, why don't they do this? And then I'm like, nope, they're doing their best. That's it. They're doing their best. And I can do that now. And it's just been in a few days, and it's totally changed my interactions on a regular basis. And even the people that I work with at other places, it's just amazing to be able to say, instead of having expectations of them to do things the way that I think they should be done, because I'm a perfectionist, that I can go, no, they're doing their best, and that's all I can ask, and that's it. So this has been absolutely mind-blowing for me, actually.
Wow.
That's
awesome. That is really awesome. That makes me so happy, Anna. So happy. You know, it's funny. I keep talking about these programs, and I keep saying these negative programs are running through us. And I've been hesitant to list some of them, because it's one of those things where if you already have a connotation of what something means, you have your own definition of it, then that's what you're going to think of when I say the word. And I've been looking to avoid that. So I feel like because of that, I've come off maybe as a little bit vague when I talk about some of this programming. But I think it might be helpful to give some examples of some of the negative programs that I'm talking about, that each of us has running as a driver program, which means it drives our behaviors, our choices, and it creates the circumstances that we have. And when you have more than one of those going at the same time, you have multiple ones, then that's actually what you're kind of filtering all of your life experiences, conversations, outcomes, situations, comments, anything like that. You're filtering through these programs. And that's why for people like us, who have trouble taking action and who procrastinate a lot and who beat ourselves up quite a bit, we all have multiple negative programs running, like pessimism, where you're always hoping, but you can't quite bring yourself to a place where you can expect and trust that everything's going to be okay. So it leaves you worrying a lot as you wonder and wait to see what happens. We have defeatism, which is in the family with pessimism, as Kara smiles because that is her. It's in the pessimism family, but it's as it strictly relates to goals and goal orientation and goal setting, where you have this feeling of, why even bother? This is so much. I used to feel this way about my weight. I felt like I had like 50 or 60 pounds that I wanted to lose. And I would just look at that number and feel like, oh my God, that is, where would I begin? How can I even do that? Right? One walk is not going to do that. 1 week of walking is not going to do that. And so I had that defeatist attitude toward my weight. And over the last 2 years, I've lost 30 pounds by doing nothing but changing my mindset. That's it. Just changing my mindset about it, getting rid of that defeatist attitude, and instead accepting, who I am and where I am and what my body looks like, and then just loving it unconditionally for that. And who knew that through that, I would start to organically and lovingly, non-judgmentally adopt some of the behaviors that I used to try to force myself to do, like moving around more, walking, eating better, eating less. And so defeatist is another one. There's, and Kara mentioned it before when she talked about counting your progress. There's one called discounting, where we are so goal-oriented and so results-oriented that we're constantly measuring where we are now versus the results that we want. And because we're not where we want to be, that's all we focus on. So from a law of attraction perspective, when they recommend that, part of what helps you to really be a match for what you want and create what you want, co-create what you want, you have to feel as if you are already there. You have to feel as if you have it. And for those of us who are discounters, acting as if is the most impossible thing to do. It's just impossible. That's why for us, counting our progress and the way we feel and the evidence that we see and how we're feeling in the moment is like a workaround, so that helps us to act as if. Tell me, both of you, and maybe Kara, we could start with you. What kinds of things have you tried to do in the past that should have been solutions, but you couldn't get them to work for you?
I guess I'm not sure I know what you mean. Sorry.
What have you done? What kinds of things have you tried to do to address your frustrations with business?
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I've done a lot of counseling with different people, official mental health counseling and things. I am a very firm believer in Jesus, and, I've sought things through the church. I've read tons of books, and it's kind of hard to describe, I guess, without a whole long history, but, it's kind of like when my business tanked to some degree, it brought up all this stuff that I didn't really know was an issue. So it's really awesome, because in the end, God was showing me, you need to work on all this stuff. Whereas before, just with life, I was able to get around it and, go over here for a while and go over there for a while, or focus on a new project or a new thing and a new dream, so to speak. And yet this, really made me focus in. And then that's right when I was introduced to you and your program. And it's just different. This is just, it's like the total nuts and bolts of how to, because people say, well, just believe, or just do this, or just do that, or whatever. But the phrase I came up with was, how do you believe when your believer is broken? And that's what made it so hard all those years. And it's like, now things are turning around, and it's just a different way of looking at it. And yet at the same time, it's all the same stuff I already know. My mom is a counselor. My mother-in-law is a counselor. It's stuff I've heard my whole life, but you put a nuts and bolts to it. It's just different. And that's been the difference. It's been awesome.
I'm glad. Yeah, I everything that I have taught you, everything that I am sharing here through this platform is all stuff that I, worked through, asked for guidance on, really needed to have an understanding of in order to get myself through this process. So to know that doing that and then putting it out there in this way, and having it actually impact other people is really cool. It's really cool. Anna, can you tell us a little bit about some of the frustrations that you've experienced, throughout your business, your career, wherever it applies?
I think the biggest thing for me was I always felt like I couldn't get out there, and especially for my business, and approach people. Like I didn't want to feel like I was overpowering them. Mm-hmm. So I always kind of tried to do it in a kind of a soft manner, kind of getting to know them first, and then move a little bit closer in terms of talking about my business. And then I also have taken seminars for putting a business plan together, and then how to learn the personalities and how to interrelate to people. And I think that that's probably the direction that I've taken the most in terms of learning the personalities through the DISC program and Personality Plus, and just trying a lot more with the interpersonal relationship skills, mm-hmm. in terms of getting over or trying to work through my issues with interacting with people.
Mm. So. All right, so we're God, this goes by so fast, doesn't it? We're coming up on time already. Well, I guess what I want to put out there, and what I want to offer is really just an open invitation for anyone for whom this is resonating. And, if you feel like you've been in the same position that I was in, and that Kara's been in, and Anna's been in, where you're struggling, you've tried lots of other things that have worked for other people, and you felt like were really going to work for you, and they didn't work for you. There was still something missing, some way that you were still unable to take full advantage of that stuff. If that sounds at all familiar to you, then reach out to me. Let's connect on Facebook. I want to talk to you. I want to ask you some questions, and I want to hear from you what your experience has been, what you need, because I am in a wonderful position here where I have worked my way through so much of this, and I have learned a lot, and it's making a difference in people's lives, but it's not making a difference in as many people's lives as I need to have happen. Like, I'm here for a reason to share this with a lot more people. So reach out to me on Facebook and let me know what your stuff is, because I'm putting some more things together to make this even easier and more simple to digest and apply. And I just feel so grateful and so amazed at what an experience this is turning into, what a journey it is. So, we're getting the big heavy warning signs now. So reach out to me via Facebook, either Casey Farrell Kerr or nightcap.live, and let's connect. I want to help you work through this, and so you can leave a bigger mark and have more of an impact on people. You guys, thank you so much for joining me here tonight and telling your stories. And I wish we had another 30 minutes to get even deeper. So maybe we'll have you come back and we can talk a little more about what you have to offer and what your bigger plans are. So until next time, thanks for joining us here on Nightcap Live. Mwah!
You've been watching Nightcap here on New Earth International.